You're listening to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for and by Rockies fans on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Thank you for joining us as we discuss all things baseball and Colorado Rockies. Hello and welcome to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast on Rocky Mountain Rooftop, proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Evan Lang, and with me, as always, drinking 44 grams of added sugar, it's Skyler Timmons.
Yep, I need something to get me through this podcast. And Evan, I'm sorry to say, it's the 12th year in a row that I was not taken in the MLB draft. Well, there's still some chance when we record, but...
To be fair, it's only the 11th round right now. There's time, Skyler. Don't give up hope.
Who wants a 30-year-old guy from Southern Colorado who hasn't played baseball in 6, 7, 8 years?
Those are the kind of draft picks that you would see back when it was 40-plus rounds, and it's like, and in the 62nd round with the 1,489th pick overall.
Yeah.
The Rockies select a 32-year-old grocery bagger from Carlton Springs, Nevada.
Whose dad works in the front office.
Yeah. Or Brandon Whedon. Hey, he was a first-round draft pick, and he was 27 years old.
There you go.
I'm just saying, Skyler, don't give up hope.
Got to get into that indie ball circuit.
Hey, yeah, I mean, the Rockies are definitely going after guys in any ball. They've signed, 4 or 5 different guys this year?
Mm-hmm.
Look how good it's gone for Jack O'Dowd.
Mm-hmm.
But, Skyler, we have lots to talk about today because speaking of the MLB draft on this hot Sunday afternoon, we are in the midst of the final 10 rounds of this year's MLB draft. It's been an interesting one so far, and we figured, let's talk about some of those first couple picks. Well, we'll probably have our great big huge draft recap episode at some point in the near future. But for this episode, as we wrap up the first half before the All-Star break, I figured it's best to just go over the first few picks of the Colorado Rockies draft. And Skyler, I think the guy who's going to take up most of our time is the player that the Rockies selected 10th overall with their first round pick in Kentucky shortstop Tyler Bell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll definitely do a lot of the heavy lifting, I'm sure, in this segment. You follow and are more aware of the draft and the college prospects much more than I am. I start paying attention to them a lot bit more once they actually start playing in the system, and probably when they get to Albuquerque, I'm like, oh, that guy's knocking on the door. But I didn't really have any idea what was going to happen coming into this draft. I think that was the big thing is we just don't know what the Rockies are looking for, what's Paul DePodesta, Josh Burns, Tommy Tanis, the scouts. What is this team looking for as they undergo their first draft? And knowing that first day, I think we started to get maybe some ideas of it, and I'm sure we'll have a much clearer picture by the end of it. But from what I can gather, like taking Tyler Bell, a really solid, good pick of just a really good player who, seems like a really much of a best player available at the time, and the Rockies were already in on him. So I feel like a nice solid pick for a guy with a lot of different kind of versatile tools that this team can build upon and just see how he develops as he enters the system.
Yeah, Tyler Bell is one of multiple position player prospects that were linked with the Rockies in the first round. We really weren't sure if they were going to take a pitcher because we know this organization needs pitchers, or if they were going to take a catcher potentially because, as we've discussed before, organizationally, the depth for catcher is pretty rough for this organization. But most mock drafts had one of a small group of position players going to the Rockies. Bell was mocked a few times. There's Derek Curiel. There were a couple other guys, but ultimately we landed on Bell after, unfortunately, expectedly, Von Lackey of Georgia Tech did not fall into our laps at 10th overall. Wouldn't have that been something? But I overall, when the pick first dropped, I went, you know what? I am whelmed. This seems like a pretty safe pick. He's at a premium position, best player available kind of thing. And the more deep diving you do into Tyler Bell, though, the more there is to really like about this pick. Because don't get me wrong, it is a quote unquote safe pick. It is. But there's a lot to like about that safe pick, and you can see why the Rockies were drawn to him. He fits really well into this new philosophy that we have seen. The Rockies are very aggressive, but they've also been preaching down in the minor league levels when it comes to hitting is, pitch identification, pitch selection, being patient and working with what you've got. And Tyler Bell is the epitome of that. He had just a 13.5% chase rate for the 2026 college season and put up pretty good numbers while doing that. This was all while playing with a shoulder that he injured pretty severely early on in the college season. Diving for a ground ball, he suffered a shoulder dislocation in his non-throwing arm. So that's, again, a big relief on there. If it was a throwing arm, you'd have a lot more questions. But it tore the labrum. There was some structural damage, and it's going to require surgery at some point. But he chose to play throughout the season, play through the pain, and did pretty well despite that. Put up good numbers with University of Kentucky.
His best college season.
Pretty much. Was very selective, didn't chase, still played very solid defense at a premium position. And you can tell why the Rockies like this guy, because he's got that grit that the Rockies love by playing through that injury and wanting to be there for his team. He's had some very good interviews on that subject, but then also that he played well, and it's that patience, it's that selectiveness. He's got a good hit tool, and he can actually put that hit tool to good use, because the Rockies have drafted or signed patient hitters in the past. I think about Adael Amador, who's drawn plenty of walks throughout his minor league career, but has never really been able to convert that into solid hitting. Versus, I think we're going to see a lot more of that out of Tyler Bell. And the fact that in some of his post-draft interviews, he's talking about, the Rockies were one of his best meetings, he thought, with teams that were interested in drafting him. He's got some connections to Colorado. He says his dad is a big skier, like to come out to Colorado to ski. And overall, I really like the guy, especially with some of the stuff that he said afterwards. And if you want to see most of his interview with the media after getting drafted, if you head on over to Purple Row, Renee Deckert put together some of his better quotes from that post-draft interview. So let's just sort of get to know the guy as our first pick in the 2026 draft, the first pick with this new regime, like you said, where we really didn't know where DePodesta was going to go with this, where his front office was going to go with this. And I think you've got a pretty good pick.
Yeah, and I think he fits a mold of what we are seeing with, especially with the position players. Bell kind of fits a mold that we're starting to see of how the Rockies constructed themselves this year. They want athletic guys who can be versatile. He's a shortstop. He can stay at shortstop, and that's definitely their hope. But they'll expand his defensive versatilities around the infield. He'll probably pick up outfield like everybody else in the organization. Just give him opportunities because he's athletic. They want him to be versatile. And then you add in he's a switch hitter, which I'm a sucker for those switch hitters. Like, awesome. You love to see that. Just a more versatile player. And they talked a lot about his intensity and just how he carries himself in the game and approaching, or he plays with a chip on his shoulder. A very intense, team first kind of guy of, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to compete, I'm going to be the best there is because I know I am. He's walking around like he's got the biggest bat, and that's an edge that you need with your team. We're seeing that with Cole Carrig now, of what spark that can light under your team. And Tyler Bell, I think, is an epitome of what the Rockies value in a guy, just in his personality, but then what he brings onto the field with just everything he can do. He could hit for power. He's got a good hit tool that could tap into some power, good versatile defense. That's what you want out of a player. Like, you refer to him as the safe pick for a rebuilding organization like the Rockies. That's exactly the types of picks you need to make, because we've seen how many swings they've taken in the past that don't work out when you're going for this. Michael Tolya can hit the snot out of the ball, play some solid defense. Oh, never mind. He's striking out 40% of the time at the big league level. So you need these foundational, safe picks because he can progress. He can be a good, solid ball player who could then, no, a good, strong foundation. I think that's what it goes back to, Evan, is they wanted strong foundations. Bell's got a strong foundation for him to work on.
Yeah, and that foundation is, you look at his scouting grades from MLB Pipeline, and there's nothing that he does poorly. Every single score, he's got a 50 or better. And yeah, there are some prospects where it's like, oh, they've got a 65 in this, or there was a one of my favorite pitchers in this draft that ended up going to the Texas Rangers, I think, who was a 6'9", 18-year-old with a 70 graded fastball. Which, man, can you imagine having a dude who's, it harkens back to Randy Johnson, have a dude who's almost 7 foot tall and then elevated further by standing on the mound, bearing down on you, and then popping a fastball over 100 at you? I'm pretty sure I would just die on the spot.
I'm hoping I'm wearing my brown pants that day.
Playing for the Padres that day.
Mm-hmm.
But for Tyler Bell, it really is, right now he is a shortstop through and through, but he has the versatility. He can play second. You could probably move him otherwise. He's got good hands. He's got good footwork. He's got a good arm. Like there is, like I said, nothing that he really does poorly. And then you throw onto the fact that, playing with a bum shoulder for the entirety of the 2026 college season, he puts up an OPS over 1.1 and draws 30 walks to 36 strikeouts. It's exactly what you said, that is a really strong foundational first round pick that you can probably get a lot out of.
Yeah. And I like too that he bet on himself, that he got drafted last year or a couple of years ago by, what was it, Tampa Bay? Something like that. And 66th overall in 2024. Bets on himself, goes to college. Ryan Ritter and other guys kind of pushed, and people in his inner circle kind of pushed him like, no, go to Kentucky. And so he goes there and just a leader of that team and really good player. And now it's paid off where you go from 66th to 10th overall, as one of the highly ranked sophomores eligible for the draft. And so it's that college foundation where then he can continue to build upon that. And it gives him a chance to ascend rapidly through the system. And, there's people are, why'd we take a shortstop? We've got shortstops. No. But the thing is, how many players, you don't draft one guy like, that's our guy. Okay, now let's figure out other positions. You want to bring in all kinds of good players, because what are the odds the person you have at shortstop is going to stay there, or the guy that you initially drafted is going to stay there? Like Todd Helton debuted in left field with the Rockies before he became the permanent first baseman, because there was somebody already there. And so don't worry about what positions they are, because
Hunter Goodman had played mostly right field and first base.
Yeah, especially with the big league team.
Yeah, remember that he had never been a full-time starting catcher.
Yeah. So it's like you bring in good players. Cole Carrig was drafted as a catcher, and they're like, no, you're in center field.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I think people also overestimate our depth at shortstop throughout the organization. Like you said, because you never know how long people are going to stick at shortstop. One of the things that made me laugh, I was sitting in on the media availability for Roldy Brito when he was announced to be on the Futures Game roster, which is awesome. And they were talking about this of like, a lot of these kids from the Dominican Republic, when they get into professional baseball, they're shortstop, because they're just these undersized, quick guys, and you have no idea how they're going to grow or change or anything like that. But even then, when you get to these kids who are 20, 21, 22, you still have no idea where their final position is going to be for the most part. I mean, we've had plenty of guys through this system who, when they make it to the bigs, they're not playing the position that they were originally. And if Tyler Bell sticks at shortstop, there is a chance that this could also be them saying to, Ezekiel Tovar, who's having a very rough season right now, of, hey, man, we can replace you if we need to. So let's try and get it together.
And you always need to plan down the line, because things can change over a year or two with Ezekiel Tovar, where all of a sudden we need a shortstop instead of, he's struggling. Like we're going to trade him because he's gotten to a really good point. Maybe he's rebounded. He's got value. We're going to trade him so we can turn to who's up next. Well, maybe Ethan Holiday's pounded his way up. There's Tyler Bell. Now here's another option. So the whole point of the draft, especially with your very top first pick, is you want to get a really good player that you can build up and be a contributor as soon as possible. Especially nowadays with the way college players are, you're picking a guy who's going to be an impact guy within 3 years. It seems within 3 years, that guy Tyler Bell could be in the big leagues, contributing, playing every day.
Yeah, and really the only knock on Bell right now is that he is probably going to need shoulder surgery sooner rather than later. They discussed it is that he is going to head to the Rockies Arizona complex in Scottsdale at some point in the next few weeks. They are going to evaluate him with their own in-house medical team and decide to go from there. But what's very likely going to happen is he's going to need shoulder surgery, and that just means he does not make his professional debut this year, which at the end of the day isn't really that much of a knock because plenty of players don't make their professional debut the year that they're drafted for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, they go to their complex league, play for a bit, and then if they're pursuant enough and stubborn enough, they can go and play for their low A team. Or
or if they really want to be aggressive, and we've seen that before, they'll plunk them in high A and see what happens, and sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't. But it's one of those things where you never really can, first of all, judge a draft pick immediately after they're being drafted. It's just like in the NFL or any other sport where you've got to wait a year or 2 or 3 to see how they develop and what they become versus what they are on paper. But what I think is really interesting about Tyler Bell is MLB Pipeline had him listed as their 10th overall prospect in the top 250 for the draft. And where'd the Rockies take him? Well, 10th overall. It's okay. It's not a reach. It's not a the opposite of a reach. I couldn't think of a good word for it. It's not like a super below slot value signing or something. Maybe they sign him for under slot value. Who knows? But I really like the pick. And you also mentioned, Skyler, his relationship with Ryan Ritter. Same high school, same college, now same MLB team. And apparently they work out together. They're pretty close. I think that is a really, really cool connection that he had with the team overall. And
so the other thing Tyler Bell is a friend of the show.
Yeah. Well, hopefully soon a friend of the show, who is also a friend of the show.
Oh.
Wouldn't that be neato?
Think they'll join my Fortnite squad?
I don't know. Maybe. He says he does like to play video games like a lot of these kids.
Yeah, but they always say that, and it's like, I play Call of Duty.
Yeah, okay. For him it was... for him, it was he said one of his connections to Colorado was that when he plays in MLB The Show, he always picks his home stadium as Coors Field so he can crank dingers.
Pretty much.
Which, you know what? Okay. But the last thing I'll say about it, Skyler, and you touched on this, is the fact that he's got the confidence and he was encouraged to bet on himself. Like you said, 2024 draft, he was 66th overall. That's still a good $1 to $2 million that he could have gotten as a signing bonus. And now as the 10th overall pick, his slot value is significantly higher.
Like 6.7 mil.
Where even if he signs below that, that is still a hefty chunk of change for him. And he comes to an organization that, like you said, needs good foundational players. And he is the epitome right now of, I think, like I said, safe, but safe is not a bad thing in this case. It is, he represents not a franchise savior kind of prospect like we've seen with Charlie Condon, like we've seen with Ethan Holiday last year. He represents of what could hopefully be a return to normalcy for the Rockies, of these guys who you can build a foundation on and not have to go, man, we really need this guy to hit, otherwise it's all over.
Yeah. Again, it reflects what we're seeing with the big league team, where you just have a solid foundation top to bottom in the lineup, and that just relieves pressure on some guys, and just overall it elevates the floor for everybody. And that's huge. And we probably won't get into these other guys, but you see those other draft picks on day one, foundational guys that have some really good foundations to build upon, and Tyler Bell's leading that charge.
Yeah. We might have just a couple minutes to talk about them, but real quick, we're going to take our first break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Affected by Altitude. Welcome back to Affected by Altitude. I'm Evan. That's Skyler. We just finished talking about the Rockies' first pick in the 2026 draft, Tyler Bell. And Skyler, really quick, I think we'll hit on some of these other guys, maybe just 5 minutes tops. But what's been really interesting so far, we're sitting right now as the Rockies are about to draft their 11th round pick. The Rockies have drafted, outside of Tyler Bell, exclusively pitchers and 2 catchers.
Good.
And honestly, that's not unexpected, where we talked about the organizational depth at catcher, but we also talked about, this team needs pitching. But 2 of their top 5 picks were catchers. And the big one that I think is worth talking about first is Daniel Jackson, the catcher out of University of Georgia, who was taken in the first part of the competitive balance picks. And this is another guy who he could end up playing other positions. He is a solid catcher, but has the athleticism, much like Hunter Goodman or even Braxton Fulford, who played his first career rep at left field last week, to play pretty much wherever. And this is a guy who I think this is a fantastic pick for your second pick in the draft. Golden Spikes Award winner, Dick Hauser winner, Buster Posey Award winner. I really, really like this pick. And that he's another one where I think he could be a foundational guy where he addresses a need. He was the best player available. And overall, I really, really like it.
Yeah, it's one of those guys where like you look and you say like he fell to us at 37th overall pick. Like that's incredible. And so yeah, really a lot to be excited about. You see that and you see the power numbers. You're like, okay, like this team understands that catchers are an important position, a premium position. Paul DePodesta talked about that of up the middle, like how important those positions are and catchers are and these types of players. So it's huge. Like when you get a guy who has those kinds of accolades, coming out of college, that's awesome. We've seen Charlie Condon, who had some accolades, and we got him 3rd overall. He also, we've seen him get a fire lit under him and what he's doing now in AAA. It's awesome to just see that you get this fortune. Like, okay, we get a really good foundational piece at a position of need going forward.
And you can see how he continues to show the things that the Rockies are prioritizing. Because, yes, he's a big bopper. He's got a 60 rated power tool. He can crush that ball. But one of the things that his scouting report indicates is that over the last season or 2, he's really been working on being more selective, being more patient at the plate, reducing those strikeout numbers. And also the fact that as a catcher, he's fast and he's athletic, which is what we've seen them prioritize. Like I said, Hunter Goodman, Braxton Fulford, Brett Sullivan, guys who can call a game behind the plate, but aren't your traditional just big power only, catchers or sluggers or something like that. They've got this good foundation of skills where, he's got a 60 overall power tool, but he's also got 50s pretty much everywhere else. He's going to play. And the difference between him and the other catcher they drafted out of the University of Cincinnati, Jack Natilli, who is more of your traditional, very slow catcher, but has a lot to value on there. So 2 really, I think, good catchers that they picked. But like you said, especially with Daniel Jackson, who dropped to us at 37th overall when he was in the top 30 for overall picks, and everybody needs catchers. And he's so highly decorated. I really, really like that he fell to us. I like that pick a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, real quick, we'll talk about the 2 right-handed pitchers the Rockies drafted: Logan Redeman out of UCLA and Ben Davis out of Mississippi State. 2 very different but also very similar college pitchers. High velocity fastball, And they're both of them. Their second best pitch is a cutter that they can heavily utilize. I'm really interested because we're seeing a lot more cutters with this organization than we previously had, and we didn't used to see a ton of cutters because
Yeah.
if you don't throw a cutter right and it doesn't cut, it gets obliterated. But
Same with a sinker.
we've been seeing really effective cutters out of this organization recently, and so I think that's really interesting. But the two of them also, these high velocity fastballs. Redeman is much more of a control guy. He has much better accuracy in the strike zone versus Davis has much higher velocity, higher ceiling for that fastball, but he's a little bit less accurate. But overall, again, like two very good prospect pitchers that you can probably build a little something with.
Yeah, it's always nice when you see like a guy with Redeman where we're like, hey, he's one of the best starters. He was one of the best starters in this class when he was healthy. When healthy and he's on, he's probably the best right-handed option in that draft. And so Rocky's able to snag him. They'll had those back-to-back picks, 37, 38. Like, good solid pick. And no Ben Davis. Excited you were, okay, here's a guy you could see fireballer coming out of the bullpen type of thing. You're like, some fun stuff to see.
Yeah, moldable.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. Last thing I'll note of the draft so far, we still do not have the Rockies 11th round pick, but at this point, the Rockies are going for college players very heavily, which is also not a surprise. Only one high school pitcher drafted, and it's very cool because it does seem like he's going to go ahead and sign. He said in an interview after getting drafted that he plans to be in Scottsdale in the next week to get that contract signed. It's Tyler Putnam out of Missouri. I think he's going to be a really interesting pick as well. But it doesn't surprise me the Rockies are going mostly for college age, well-seasoned guys because, as we've talked about before on the show, high school players are so risky in terms of their development. And how many times now have we seen high school players, not just for the Rockies, but overall in baseball, just not work out for a variety of reasons?
That and just the way college development is nowadays, it's on par with what you're going to get in low A and high A. So you're going to get a more polished product immediately out of the draft, and half your job's been done with the development part. So, yeah, unless you're going in like the first four, the first half of the draft, those first 5 rounds or so, you're hard pressed to pull out guys from high school.
Yeah, it's a complicated situation, and the Rockies, they need to restock that farm and have a much better overall well-balanced farm system, and that's what a lot of this draft is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious to see what they do with their second half of the picks, 11 through 20. I do think we see some more position players scattered about in there, but I believe they're going to continue to just go pitcher, pitcher, pitcher for the most part.
Yeah, probably. And then like just you get to a point where like, yeah, it's just whoever's available and we feel is the best option.
Pretty much. But yeah, we will have hopefully a big, huge draft recap at some point in the next week or two. So look forward to that. But Skyler, it's time now to shift courses to, we mentioned friends of the show and friends of the show. Let's talk about some friends of the show. And we'll start with one Mr. Kyle Karros, who we talked a little bit about the end of last week. Two-time friend of the show, Kyle Karros, who has really just come into his own over the last few months as a big league player. And he was on the honorable mentions list for our June pitcher of the month, after June player of the month. If he had pitched, that would have been even more incredible. Where he turned in a month of June where he was one of the best hitters in the league with an OPS of 1.030 and just overall doing a fantastic job. And we're now about halfway through July, and he's continued to just hit very well. He looks so comfortable at the plate. You call him Kyle 3-2 Karros because he's going to draw a full count, and then he's going to do something with the ball.
Yeah. And it's so awesome to see because, at the start of the season, that first month, he had the plate discipline, which was awesome. He was already showing that after that spectacular spring. He comes in, starts the season. He's drawing his walks. He's taking these good at bats. And I remember writing about him sometime about mid-April or so over at Purple Row, just saying, like, how can he figure out to break out soon? Because this guy was hitting a lot more line drive. He was hitting a lot of line drives. He was kind of in this mix with his swing where No, it's a long swing, but it's also kind of slow. But he's just hitting line drives and ground balls a lot. And we saw probably into halfway through May or so into June, he starts making adjustments at the plate where now he's lifting the ball a lot more. He's turning on the ball and tapping into his natural power that we knew he had, that we saw in the minor leagues. We see him make the adjustment, and now he's just on a tear where he's lifting the ball a lot more, still smoking it for line drives. He's got a quick swing, or his swing has gotten a little bit quicker, no 1 or 2 miles per hour quicker, which is huge. Now he's around league average now. He was right below it. And the swing's still the same length, but he's compensated and adjusted things where now he's getting to balls more often and lifting them, which has been huge. We've seen the power increase. We've seen him get these huge clutch hits while he continues to draw walks at an impressive rate. One of the best rates in baseball. It's the complete package that we're on the forefront of, like, Kyle Karros is the man, and it's that nice vindication for us, Evan.
Yeah, we told you.
Validation.
We told you. We knew. And it's really nice to see, especially that he's lifting the ball more and he's putting it more in play, but it's not coming at the cost of, because we've seen this with Hunter Goodman now, that he's hitting much more home runs, but it's come a little bit at the cost of his plate discipline, and it's come a little bit at the cost of getting on base more frequently. But for Kyle Karros, he's still drawing walks. So far in July, he's got 6 walks to 8 strikeouts. That'll play. That's good. And you look now, and he's more line drives, less ground outs. The fly ball rate is much more damaging, especially at this point in the year. Exit velocity is up, and he's got a 12.5% walk rate, which is really good, especially for a young third baseman who's starting to tune into that power. And he's just about to turn 24 in a couple weeks. And I think you can really say for Karros now is that he is proving that he can be, like we've discussed time and time again, part of the foundation, a potential long-term answer. And the Rockies, for what it's worth, have done very good at finding franchise third basemen throughout the organization's history. You had Vinny, you had Garrett Atkins, you had Nolan, you have Ryan McMahon for a little bit, and now I really think that you've got Kyle Karros, who is going to be a long-term answer at third base. I really like his fit there. He's he's not the flashy defender like Nolan was or even Ryan McMahon was, but he is such a sure-handed, sure-gloved defender that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You don't have to have the best defender in baseball for your third baseman. You need a guy who can defend. And he is a very good defender.
Yeah. And you needed a guy who could hit. No, it wasn't, you didn't need a placeholder of, maybe Charlie Conn. He went out, they gave him the opportunity, and he made the position his own. And I think what's like a testament to Kyle is making those adjustments, because on April 30th, at the end of April, he was hitting 207, 330, 272, had a 602 OPS. Like, pretty bad numbers overall. Good on base, but everything else, like, not good. As of entering today on Sunday, he's hitting 266, 364, 445 with an 809 OPS. So just astronomically has raised all of his numbers. That's not an easy thing to do a lot of the time when you struggle out of the gate like that. Since the start of May, Evan, so over these last 2.5 months, he's hit 297, 382, 533, 41 strikeouts, 22 walks, 8 home runs, 30 RBIs, 15 doubles, couple triples. That's over 60 games. So over 60 games, look at what Kyle Karros has done now after just settling in to this season and making adjustments and growing. Like, it's so awesome to see. You love to see that out of a guy.
And you know what one of my favorite stats that I think flies under the radar for Kyle is? He has only grounded into a double play twice so far this season. And this year, I feel like we've seen a lot of grounding into double plays. The rally killers, especially from, I feel bad, naming names or whatever, but Tyler Freeman has 14 times that he's grounded into a double play, and the next guy up is Edward Julien with 6. But for Kyle Karros, who's played almost the entirety of the season, he's down there at the very bottom with guys like TJ Rumfield, where when he does hit a grounder, it's not a killer, and he can avoid hitting grounders where he needs to. And I love watching this guy play. I really, really do. And having watched him develop, because you're right, his numbers in April were bad. And we've talked about on the show before, he was one of the guys who last year especially, he got called up probably before he was ready. But they had to say, well, we need a third baseman. You're our guy. You need to learn. You need to develop. You need to find a way to hit big league pitching. And he's risen to the occasion spectacularly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he found a way to break out. And I think in that article I'd written, like, if he can find a way to just get some multi-hit games under his belt, find a way to do that, lift the ball a little more, he'll be on his way and be who the Rockies believe who he can be. And he's done exactly that. Now, I think in June and here in July, he's gotten quite a few multi-hit games. He's always on base. He's just always on base, and it's huge for his growth. We've seen him now, with a left-hander on the mound, he's batting second because that's just the type of guy you want who can put the ball in play, get on base. In that lineup, you can slap him down into the 5-6 hole because there'll be guys in front of him. He can drive and get on base or get on base himself.
And he's just always going to take such a good, long professional at bat.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. And, we're like proud parents watching. We're Eric Karros watching him develop.
Yeah, but they don't show us on the broadcast every 30 seconds when they're playing the Dodgers.
I look in the mirror for that.
Or mention Eric Karros every 30 seconds on the broadcast when they're not playing the Dodgers.
Hey, it's okay.
Hey, and he's played very well against the Dodgers. So if we can have us a little Dodgers
4 career home runs against the Dodgers
of our very own, out of what, 10 total home runs, 4 of them are against the Dodgers. I'll take that. Mm-hmm. I'll take that. And he is the one of the Rockies' best position players by WAR. If you look at Baseball Reference, if you're looking at our top 6, 2 of those guys are pitchers. It's Ryan Feltner and Antonio Senzatela, and then everybody else who's a position player with over 1 win above replacement: Cole Carrig, Kyle Karros, Hunter Goodman, TJ Rumfield.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nice to see position players of value, because how many times have we seen, especially over the last few seasons, where you'll have maybe 1 guy, 2 guys where the position players are really breaking out or doing their thing, and then it's the rest of them are usually pitchers or just sort of all over the place, and you're just not getting your value out of those position players.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. So many of them.
It's been a long couple of years, so let us revel in this for a little bit. And how about the fact that Cole Carrig, who's only been playing for about a month, already has 1.1 wins above replacement per Baseball Reference.
Yeah. And it's kind of like him and Kyle are finding that they've got those clutch genes in them where, Kyle's always coming up with these big hits, especially as of late, where, a big situation late in the game, you're like, I don't want to see Kyle Karros come up to the plate. And Cole Carrig stepped into that too. He's still growing into it a little more, but it's fun to see these young guys succeeding so well, and it's bright future for the team.
Is the secret having your first and last name start with the same letter?
Yes.
Because if so, I'm even more excited for Charlie Condon.
Yeah. That means Ezekiel Tovar should put a T in front of his first name.
It's Ezekiel Tovar.
The T can remain silent, but
no, like you pronounce it like a tzatziki sauce from delicious Mediterranean food. It's Ezekiel Tovar.
There you go. That'll help him.
Hey, and if there's a Mediterranean restaurant that wants to have Ezekiel Tovar as their spokesperson, you can use that one for free. We're going to take one more quick break. When we come back, I have one more friend of the show to talk about, and we'll do some general first half roundups. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Affected by Altitude. Welcome back to Affected by Altitude. I'm Evan, that's Skyler. For our third and final segment, we're going to kick things off talking about another friend of the show who has finally made their MLB debut and their first professional big league start. It's Gabriel Hughes, the Rockies 2022 first round pick out of Gonzaga.
Yeah, we touched on him last episode after his debut, and we're like, well, we don't really like that he's coming out of the bullpen. Well, some other circumstances, injury to Tomoyuki Sugano lands him on the injured list. So then it gives Gabriel Hughes a chance to start, and they place him against the Dodgers, and not too shabby.
No, not at all. It was a little worrying at first, what I will say, because he comes out in the first inning, he throws 39 pitches, he gives up 3 earned runs, he has walks, he doesn't look super sharp. He looks nervous. And after that inning, or as we were going, they had TJ Shook up in the bullpen. It was like, oh man, that's exactly what you don't want to see. Is this guy's first start going to end after this? But then for the next 5 innings, he was incredible.
Retires 15 in a row.
He completely locked it down. 15 Dodgers hitters in a row. 15 of the next 17 hitters he faced in a row. Dialed up 7 strikeouts. Made great use of all of his pitches. Didn't give up a single other earned run. He looked fantastic. Like, that was one of those ones where the way he started it with adversity and then just with a snap is dialed in, locked in, and just an absolute killer the rest of the game. That's a big league pitcher right there.
Yeah, and like we talked about him before, and like he's got that mental aptitude to nice and calm, before the game, just chilling, reading books, and then dials it in and doesn't let things spiral out of control. And that's the biggest thing that we've seen with Rockies pitchers that have come up as they've struggled is they have a hard time keeping things from spiraling out of control. Dolander was doing it last year. Sean Sullivan's been doing it this year, this few times that he's come up, where they struggled to keep things from spiraling out of control. Hughes comes in and he battles through, grinds out that first inning, gets with Alon Leichman and Brett Sullivan in the dugout. No, because I think a lot of credit to Brett Sullivan navigating him through that game to help settle him down. And then he sees what Gabriel's, what he's offering with the cutter and whatnot, and comes into the dugout and said, we're throwing this. We're using that fastball because the Dodgers aren't catching up to it. They're not picking it up and having a hard time against it. And so then that's where it comes in that second inning of where that game plan comes from. So Hughes was at the best, pretty much rookie debut, a quality start since was it Peter Lambert's start back in 2019. It's been a long time since you had a rookie make a first career start, and it's gone that well.
Yeah, just the swagger, the confidence. This is a guy who, and the fact that the Dodgers are not a team that will chase.
Yeah.
And he was getting him to chase, and he was getting them to look a little silly sometimes up there. And this is now, I do not want to see Gabriel Hughes leave the rotation. I think at this point, you just go, okay, you're in the rotation, go. And I think there will be more space for him to do that after the trade deadline. But I really want to see him continue to be in the rotation after the break, because we're expecting Sugano back after the minimum amount of time after the All-Star break. And it's going to be Lorenzen, Feltner, Freeland. And I really want to see Gabriel Hughes continue to be part of that rotation.
Yeah. And like Jose Quintana is somewhere down the line somehow. So awesome to see, though, Gabriel. Stake your claim. I'm just like, no, I'm a starting pitcher. I'm going to do it. I'm like, that's where he belongs. That's what you need.
I love. We're gonna have Hughes start out of the bullpen just to get his feet wet. He has one go out of the bullpen and then goes, no, Look at me, look at me, look at me.
I am the starter
I'm
now.
the starter now. Dr. Gabriel Hughes.
Mm-hmm. It was fun to see, like just that slow heartbeat and just the confidence on the mound is so awesome to see. I think that first thing was it wasn't that he was nervous. It was, oh, I'm just trying to adjust to pitching at sea level instead of me pitching at altitude over the last year and a half.
And it was crazy because you break it down and it was like he had 39 pitches in that first inning, and he didn't have more than 12 pretty much in a single other inning for the rest of
Yeah,
the
threw
way.
like 55 over the next 4 or 5 innings.
It was, man, that was a special start, and to do it against the Dodgers, the inarguably the best team in baseball, with especially when it's you're facing the heart of their order is scary. But even then, even guys that are not in the heart of the order are guys that are going to do damage against you.
Yeah.
And just, he was completely unflappable.
Made Otani look like a fool with some pitches, which is fun to see.
I love it. But yeah, congratulations to Gabriel Hughes, friend of the show, on his first big league start. And here is to many, many more. Skyler, we got about 15 minutes left. Let's wrap up the first half here. Like we said at the beginning of the show, it's the dawn of the final day. We're about 30 minutes away from first pitch in the Rockies' final game of the first half before the All-Star break.
I still haven't found the Majora's Mask.
No, that's why you keep got it going back in time.
Oh.
Except for once, this team doesn't feel like it's going back in time. It feels like they're looking towards the future instead of constantly going back and being like, well, how did we do things in 1995? We should do that again.
Mm-hmm. I looked at a spreadsheet.
Okay, there's the first thing to talk about for, I think, this first half is how open and available and forthcoming our new front office has been in this first half. It seems like there's very frequent media availabilities. They're answering lots of questions. They're very straightforward with their answers about what they're looking for, what they like, what they don't. It has been an absolute breath of fresh air in comparison to the last several years that we've had.
Yeah, and you and I, we're not there every day having those opportunities to talk to them. We just get the secondhand, talking to those that we know that are there in those meetings and whatnot, and what you see, reading articles and all that stuff. You get that impression where they don't view the media as an enemy. They don't, and Schaefer is the same way in his press game, his conferences, and they're always addressing people by name. They know people, and it's a lot of the time they don't make you try. They don't get angry and upset that you've asked some questions. Like, they don't shy away from questions, and no, you'll see like some pressers with Schaaf where somebody will ask like kind of a nothing question. He's like, yes, it is cool.
Did you like that this pitcher pitched good?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you would see in the past where they would kind of be standoffish. Bud Black would do it in press game conference because he was frustrated and then having to answer these questions. And I don't blame him half the time. But Bill Schmidt was the same way of trying to make reporters feel stupid. Like, no, I know better than you. Why are you asking me this type of question?
I looked at a spreadsheet once 30 years ago.
Yeah, we know what we're doing. You don't. Shut up. Whereas the new front office, they don't give that feel. Like, they're very open, transparent, cooperative. Like, no, we want you to be in with us because we know what you're doing is important, and to build that relationship with the fans. Because I think that's the big thing, Evan, too. With the communication is there's a better relationship, I think, with the fans that are really paying attention.
And it's nice because it's not just DePodesta as well. Where it used to be that if we ever got anybody from the front office, it was usually Bill Schmidt. And man, you could not get a lot of information out of that guy.
Oh, we're going to hope to get the best player of the draft. And, well, it's baseball.
Versus we get DePodesta, who's feels a lot more energized, first of all. But it's not just DePodesta, because we'll get answers from Tommy Tanis, Josh Burns, other members of this front office stepping up, stepping in, being part of these media availabilities, these media scrums. It feels like a healthier organization overall. And
Yeah.
we're not at the point anymore where we were basically begging Dick Monfort last year to come out and say something, anything to address what was going on with the team, because things were spiraling out of control and he was a ghost.
Yeah, like, what was it? There was a video recently of Paul DePodesta, like, a first half video to season ticket holders of, like, DePodesta, like, "No, this is what I've learned. This is how I felt, how this first half has gone so far, and we're continuing to work and do all this stuff." Like, we're gonna hear from these guys more than once a year? Like, that's awesome. And, like, you get a first half recap, that's great, and then he comes back, hopefully no, will we get a postseason no, an after the season press conference? Like, I could see that happening again.
It's a level of availability, of openness that we simply just haven't seen. And it's probably one of outside of the obvious, the Rockies are much better offensively than they have been in years in the first half. And that's not to say anything like that, but that's something that we kind of we expected. Like, we expected that there needs to be improvement. You brought in all these new coaches, you brought in these new guys. The expectation was you've got to improve after last year, and they've done that. Versus, we didn't really know what to expect with this new front office in terms of what they would be like.
Yeah. It was like another, to reference another thing I wrote on Purple, was they had the chance to finally practice what they're preaching of, of how to actually play better. It hasn't just been, we expect to play better. It's, no, we need to play better, and this is how we're going to go about it. And we're hearing about that, and we're seeing it in the players that they brought in to address those things. You've got so many more guys that can make good contact, get on base, draw walks, cut down on strikeouts. You're seeing them put into practice what they've been preaching of how to play better. And it's yielded much better results on the field. Yeah, they're still on the bottom of the standings, but there's growth. No, when you're on pace to not about a 23 game, increase in wins this year, it's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, if the Rockies win today, they could have 40 wins before the All-Star break for the first time since 2022.
It's good stuff.
And you've seen the same thing with Warren Schaefer as well, that you've seen from this front office. Especially, I like what you mentioned about practicing what you preach and saying what they need. It's never just, they need to play better. It's, here's what we need. When Eddie J, our dear Edouard Julien, the French Canadian, he had a terrible month of May, and he started to emerge from that. And he's not been amazing, but he's been much improved from that month of May. What is it that Warren Schaefer said? It's like, well, first of all, he needs to go back to drawing his walks, because when he's drawing his walks, he's going to get more pitches to hit and he can do more at the plate. That's a solid answer of something that needs to happen.
Yeah.
We've seen guys get benched for periods of time, and Schaefer will say he's benched because we need him in the cage. He needs to put in some work to find a rhythm, to make some mechanical adjustments. And we saw a little bit of that last year as well, with Michael Tolia and some other players. But this year, it's really gone into full swing. And I really do think Schaefer has a decent amount of detractors out there. He is still a fairly young and fairly inexperienced manager. He does have the tendency sometimes to overmanage a little bit, or to make mistakes, or to do something that goes, I don't really know about that. But overall,
that's everybody.
That's every manager. And you can really see this year why I think Paul DePodesta thought basically from the start, Schaefer's our guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a connection. There's uniformity between everybody. There's a unity of what this team's trying to do, and everything from Schaefer and his crew to DePodesta and the players, everybody is, as to borrow a phrase that Bill Schmidt, Jeff Bridich, Dick Monfort like to use, we're all pulling on the same rope in the same direction. This team's actually doing that here in the first half. And you can look at that record and, like, it's not a great record. The thing is, you can look back at, like, their game logs, the schedule. There are so many games. This team should have more wins than it does, because you can look back and like so many games where the Rockies were in position to win and they lost it. Like, if things go differently in a lot of games, this is a team that could be pushing for 50 wins, 45 to 50 wins. That's a big accomplishment. And so that's the growth. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this first half is growth from top to bottom in the players, the front office coaching. Everything has just been elevated. And all those players we've talked about before on the show, the Rumfields, the McCarthys, the Karroses, so many guys have helped elevate this team. And it's been a fun first half.
Yeah. The fact that you never really felt like, you had your occasional blow up. There are so many games that you never really felt like the Rockies were completely out of it. The late inning magic where it's like, yeah, the Rockies have been losing for the first 7 innings, but it's the 8th inning now. Showtime, boys. That's been a ton of fun.
You look at
Like,
the losing streaks they've snapped.
It's not sustainable baseball, but it is fun baseball when it's like, we were just lulling you into a false sense of security. Here's the real game.
It's like against the Dodgers. They legitimately had a chance to sweep that series.
The fact that they went into Chavez Ravine and 3 games within 1 run, all within 1 run, versus we always expect, especially over the last 2 years, that we're going to go to Dodger Stadium and they're going to beat us into the dirt and we're going to leave dejected and miserable.
And in like I was like the losing streaks that have been snapped on the road, especially, that's a big thing from this first half too, Evan, is the road play has been phenomenal. So much better. It's a competitive road team, which has been awesome to see. But you snap a losing streak at Wrigley. You snap a losing streak at Dodger Stadium. You snap a losing streak at Oracle Park. Like 3 places the Rockies have been historically bad at.
Yeah.
And you snap multiple losing streaks over the course of a first half of the season.
You know what it feels like they have finally started to address is the aspect of the core's hangover. Mm-hmm. Because while, yes, the Rockies will still go on the road and they'll have their struggles, it does not feel like every road game is essentially a guaranteed loss. They go out there and they compete. And sometimes they don't put up a lot of runs. This has not been a particularly high-scoring game at Oracle Park, to high-scoring series. It's been a handful of runs for each team each game, but that's also just kind of how that stadium plays, something marine layer. But they're staying in it. They're staying competitive. They're taking good at bats. They're getting hits. And a lot of the times it's just seeing if they can get that clutch hit to score, versus so many times last year, over the last several years, it just felt like we're on the road. It's going to be bad. Let's just wait till we get back to Coors and hopefully we'll do a little bit better.
We're going to hope we get 1 win on the series, on the road trip. And we're just going to hope and pray we can get a win on the road trip. That's really all it came down to. But this year, it's like, well, we could legit have a winning road trip or 500 road trip.
The only thing that's really been disappointing for me in this first half is the pitching. But there's bits, there's moments there that you can really see. And the pitching has been bad for the most part. Like the Rockies are once again have one of the highest ERAs in the league, and it's been rough. But you can key in on some individual moments or individual player performances and go, I see what they're doing here.
Yeah, it's inconsistent, I think, is the biggest thing that describes the pitching. Is just nobody's been consistent, really, aside from like Tomoyuki Sagano. Otherwise, everybody has had their ups and downs where there's moments where everybody forgets how to throw strikes, and then other times they're just throwing batting practice, and then there's moments where a guy's just nearly seems unhittable for 4 or 5 innings. So it's been really inconsistent across the board for a lot of guys. And I think that's the biggest thing this team's still trying to figure out and mitigate is, you can have all these pitches, but what happens when you can't control any of them and you can't throw strikes? Yeah. Guys are at their best when they're throwing strikes. Look at Gabriel Hughes.
I think one of the things for me that we have seen recently that encourages me is we've seen a lot of the guys who have been struggling start to sort of rise back up out of those. Juan Mejia had a really painful stretch. And now he's got 4 or 5 scoreless outings, has been looked much improved. Zach Agnos was having a pretty terrible season, and now he's got 3 or 4 appearances of 2+ shutout innings. Victor
Yeah.
Vodnik, since coming back from the injured list, has been a lot better. He's still really struggling to find the strike zone, but he's not getting punished as much. And then you have guys like Jordan Romano, who Reclamation Project, a 2-time All-Star previously, who had shoulder surgery and just has not looked the same since. And he goes down and he spends a month at the Rockies pitching lab in Scottsdale, gets called up to the big league lineup, and his first 3 appearances are all pretty darn good. And yeah,
That one in San Francisco was kind of rough.
the one in San Francisco, wasn't that number 4 though?
Yeah,
was not
3 or
great.
4.
But there's also that inning could have also gone completely differently based on 1 or 2 calls.
Well, yeah, also if the umpires hadn't screwed things up so badly.
I was trying to be a little bit more diplomatic, but yes.
Yeah, they're not watching this.
But that's the kind of thing that you want to see of how can the Rockies work with you? How can they help you improve? How can they change things and get the best? And it's not always going to be perfect. You'll have these stretches. Kyle Freeland having that really rough stretch. Michael Lorenzen, really bad to start the season. Like probably one of the most disappointing offseason acquisitions for us. But over his last 6 starts, he's getting it done.
It's leveled it out a bit.
And that's the thing. I think overall, I'm really, really pleased with this first half.
Yeah, fun baseball. It was watchable, entertaining baseball, where you start to feel some hope of like, I'm enjoying Rockies baseball. Yeah, we've got 39 wins, and we're not gonna get the playoffs anytime soon, but there's progress, and it's been so much more fun. Just the player personalities, the front office communication. You feel like you're a connection back with the team instead of them just kind of isolating themselves. Like, shut up. We know what we're doing. We're going to be fine. Instead, it's no, you're seeing your friend who's been struggling. They're finally working on themselves, bettering themselves. And you're like, heck yeah, man, you do that.
Yeah. We all remember last year. At this point, we were all just like, thank God for the break. We don't have to watch the Rockies for a few days. And I'm excited to see the Rockies in the second half. And I was showboating a little bit after the Rockies got that win against the Dodgers. And I was like, yeah, Rockies win. Suck it, Dodgers. And I had a couple Dodgers fans be like, oh, you're still 22 games back of the division. I'm like, and?
And you just lost to the Rockies.
We did not expect to compete for the division this year. Our expectations are low. When we're meeting those expectations, baby, you just lost to us. We expect to lose to the Dodgers. You expect to beat us, and you couldn't. And it took you 3 games of having to fight for every win that you got.
Yeah, and I know the segment's running long, and that's the thing, too, they talk about on the broadcast, too, is that I think the Rockies have more respect across the league than they did a year ago. Just from the way they're playing, they're so much better, a lot more competitive, and just know the work that DePodesta and Walker Monford, all those guys in the front office have been doing to build those relationships across the league. Where I think the Rockies' reputation is better just among the league and other teams now, where there's a little bit more respect on what the Rockies are doing from around the league with the players and other teams. Not so much the league when it comes to the All-Stars stuff, but hey, we're not the laughing stock. You can still laugh at the Rockies, but it's not like loser, but it's like, oh dang, they've got some good things going on over here.
I think one of the biggest things is, an example of this is, every now and then I'm looking through Reddit at baseball stuff. There's a thriving baseball community on Reddit, and you look at these big public threads where people are discussing the Rockies, and it's, for once, it seems like everybody is having fun, but it's not at the Rockies' expense. You'll see people be like, this is as Dinger wills it, or something like that. And, being like, oh, it's great to see the Rockies actually showing some success. It's great to see them starting to improve, because it's not fun. Like, to beat up on the worst team in baseball is not fun baseball. Like, you want baseball to be fun. And people...
Do you think everybody in Dragon Ball Z liked beating up on Yamcha and Krillin? No. It was sad at times.
Yeah. I think we're almost at Ten Shinhan level.
Yeah.
We're going to do...
Can Troy Johnston just do a tri-beam blast sometime?
Yeah. Troy Johnston and the rest of the Rockies did the Kikoho on Cell, and they kept him at bay. And you know what? That was an important part of that series.
It was really disturbing when Shohei Ohtani absorbed Mookie Betts, though.
Yeah, that was messed up. It's the real reason why Mookie Betts can't go to the White House, is he got absorbed by Shohei Ohtani so that he can achieve his more perfect form.
Yeah.
We're nerds. In case you forgot, we spent a good hour talking about baseball and talking about sports, and then we ended all with an extended Dragon Ball Z reference. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, it's worthwhile.
But that's going to do it here for us on Affected by Altitude. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Skyler, where can the folks find you at?
You can find me angrily stewing in my house that Hunter Goodman isn't in the Home Run Derby. But you can also find me on Twitter at Skyler Timmons, or on Blue Sky Timmons13.bsky.social, or on purplerow.com, right in the Wednesday rock piles.
And you can find me over on Blue Sky at evanlang27.bsky.social. Love to hear from you. Doing the occasional columns over on Purple Row. I had a piece last week about Roldy Brito, one of my favorite prospects, that I would really appreciate if you guys went and checked out. I thought it came out really great. He's a really interesting young player. I like him a lot. Remember that you can find Affected by Altitude on all of your favorite podcasting platforms of choice. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. If it's got podcasts, you can find us there. You can also catch the video version of the show over on youtube.com, and you can find us on most social media websites. The tag is the same there as it is on YouTube. That's at Rocky Mountain Rooftop, at ROCKYMTN Rooftop.
Yeah, and stay tuned. We'll let you know then when we do our big draft episode, kind of recap the whole thing. Stay tuned on the socials for that.
Stay tuned for future excitement. But
until we meet again.
Yes. That's going to do it here for us on another episode of Affected by Altitude here on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Skyler, how about you hit him with it, and we'll see you in the second half.
Farewell. This has been Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast with Rocky Mountain Rooftop, a proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. Catch new episodes every Monday on wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Be sure to follow us on YouTube as well for video versions of the show.